responsibility of white people to always keep us down.
What was your life like as a young person?
It was the typical ghetto kind of life, the hustling, the playing basketball, the not really having a vision or a purpose. You're just aimlessly going through a survival mode as a young teenager. And so there was no vision there or no purpose in my life at a very early age.
And if someone had said to you at that point, why do you hate the white people, your answer would have been?
I'd have just showed them the results of what we was going through, the neighborhood, the environment, the prison system, the different social economic gap that was between us. It would have been almost like self-evident. I don't even need to explain it. Look at this, look at how we're treated, look at the two justices in this country versus whites have one kind of justice and blacks have another kind of justice. So it's been very easy to answer that, even though maybe that had been not true, but it's been very easy to point some indicators.
But yet you got turned off a little bit about the Nation of Islam. What bothered you?
I don't know, that was an inner thing. It was some things were not connecting. As you begin to talk, as in like God not having a son. I didn't come up in a Christian home, but these things just started bothering me, just pondering.
Did you ever read the Bible, go to church?
Oh, I read the Bible, but it was always in comparison with the Quran. I didn't go to church. I didn't go from the church.
The first time you read the Bible is when you were part of the Nation of Israel.
I was part of the Nation of Islam, yes. I was reading the Bible, yes, yeah. And it really would go to see, okay, was that said? Because if you read, you hear in the Quran, it talks about surah and ayats, which are chapters and verses. Verses in the Bible, you have chapter and verses, and you would just go and say, they say this in the Bible, so you would start reading it. And then I was just a reader anyway. I was always inquisitive, so I would just start reading the Bible on my own just to find out what was the story that was told.
Did you actually challenge them on what you were reading and thinking?
The Muslims?
Yes.
After that, yeah, I started challenging. I had some concerns. One day we had a meeting. I wanted to know just one question: why couldn't God have a son?
And what did they answer you with, remember?
It was really never an answer. It seemed like we were all we started getting into a argumentative mode because we were saying the Quran says he begat not, nor is he begotten, and the Bible says, well, I said, and this is what I said to them, Sid, was, let's forget that the Bible or Quran, both of them don't exist. Now explain to me why God, the one that we all say is the most powerful God that can do anything, why can't he have a son? That's all I want to know. And that question could never be answered.
And then there was one day where something very supernatural happened to you in your apartment. Tell me about that.
Well, I went to bed as anything else, and early in the morning, I saw the ceiling of the roof open up.
I have to stop you.
Okay.
Were you drinking? Were you on drugs at the time?
No, I was not. I was.
As a black Muslim, I imagine that would have been difficult. You can't do the
You can't do those things. Yeah, I, at one time, of course, used drugs and stuff. And so that's even the thinking of that was, is this a hallucination, or are you imagining stuff? And I even thought, what did we eat or drink or sleep before you go to sleep? So no, this encounter, this visitation was not induced by anything that I done at all. And so being woke up, the ceiling opened up, and I'm intently looking, and I see this ball of fire coming, and it's coming at me, Sid, and I'm going, what? And inside you can imagine what you're thinking. And the closer it gets, then it changes into a figure of a man. And in the figure of a man, as it becomes closer, I hear my inside, my spirit man says, not my intellect, I didn't understand, it says, Lord, please don't come any further. And I'm thinking, whoa, what is this? And so that's the beginning of the first supernatural
logically, you couldn't have come up with that just out of you. Lord, don't come any further. Why do you think you said that? What were you afraid of?
I don't know. The spirit man must have knew, okay, what this visitation is and what it's about. I had no idea. And then dialogue began to take place between this visitation and me.
What happened? What did they say?
Well, the first thing was that the Lord had let me know this visitation that I had a call on my life. And that
Wait a second now. You were not raised in a Christian home. The only Bible you knew is when you were comparing Bible with Quran.
That's right.
Why you?
That's right. That's exactly the question. Why me? I didn't understand any of this. And instantly, during the time that he made the call, and I'm thinking the same thing, he showed me 3 instances in my life where death tried to take me. And I knew no one, at least 2 of them, no one knew about. And it was showing at an early age that whoever was trying to stop me from fulfilling my call, it was intervened by this visitation here, because it was just like a TV dress rehearsal. He was showing me my life, instances in my life.
You're saying that the Lord protected you when your life was almost being
This
snuffed
is
out?
like twice he showed it to me, and he was showing me what I was thinking at the time that I got out of it. And so it was blowing me away. This is mind-boggling, because these are experiences like 4 or 5 years ago, before at this visitation.
And then he showed you who you were to meet. Well, first time you'd ever read a Bible, and you saw things that bothered you, and you reached a point where you thought there's something wrong, and you kind of walked away, and
That's
then you were in your room, just what is life all about type of thing,
yeah.
and a fireball comes in, the ceiling opens up, and the Lord is there. The Lord shows you 3 times where you were going to be snuffed out, killed,
true.
and he protected you. I'm wondering how many of our viewers have been protected and didn't even know. You didn't know it.
That's right, yeah.
You-
And in that experience, it shows you that I had no idea. And he was showing me even what I was thinking when I got away. You know, one of the thoughts he was showing me was how slick I was to get out of that. How I just maneuvered my way out of that situation, and you go, oh my God, that no, this was the divine help. This was divine intervention. So there's many instances in our life where the supernatural has kicked in.
God really does have control over our life, that we go our whole life and don't even realize, without his help, we'd be snuffed out.
That's absolutely correct, yeah.
So he gave you direction on what to do. Tell me about
Yes, he showed me a man, and his name was G.J. Hoskins. And he told me to
Did you
go
know
to this
him at
man.
all?
No, I did not. I did not know him at all.
that. You actually saw his face?
I saw his face, and I remember seeing him before. And then I found out that his name was George Hoskins. He was a bishop out of Raleigh, North Carolina. And he said, go to this man. He will help you to find the way. Because in the dialogue of the visitation with the Lord, one of the things I said was, Lord, I don't know the way. Because now I'm confused. Now I'm confused. I heard that the Bible and Christianity was a white man's religion. And now God is saying that this is not the truth. And that he's not a black man or a white man, that he's the right man to become right, get right with. So with that, he led me to Bishop Hoskins. I watched this guy for 2 weeks.
Wait a second. When he led you there, did you just go to his church? Did you knock on his door and say, God sent me?
No, I did not. What happened was he would every other day, he would come out, and where we play basketball at, he would be just walking around, not with a Bible or anything, and I would watch him for days. I knew during basketball, that's the guy. And so what happened is we ended up at a water fountain. I had just lost the basketball game. People ran in there to get water. They left out, and how it is that intervention, him and I end up at the water fountain alone. And I tell him to go ahead. He says, go ahead. I say, go ahead. He says, go ahead. So I say, I'm going to go. So when I'm drinking the water, the visitation comes back very clear, because now this is 2.5 weeks later, said. And I look around and said, well, none of my friends around. If this isn't real, it'll be his word against my word. It'll be an old man against his word against my word. And if he go tell my friends, I'll beat him up anyway. This is what I'm thinking. This is the kind of guy I am.
understand.
And so I go to him, and he drinks the water. I looked at him, I said, excuse me, sir, a few weeks ago, and he cut me off. He says, a few weeks ago, the Lord told you to come and see me. And I said, how did you know that? He said, the same God that spoke to you speaks to me. I said, he does. And then that's how that dialogue became. And it just blew me away. Imagine saying,
I can
the God that
understand.
spoke to me speaks to you. And he told me that you were coming. So he knew all this time he was waiting on me to approach him.
So still, you had not made this presence, the Lord or Jesus, you really didn't have a relationship with him outside of the fact he came to you. How did you develop your relationship with him?
Every day for about 3 weeks, Bishop Hoskins and I would walk around. Not one time, he had a little Bible, he would carry this little pocket Bible, green Bible, and several times he pulled it out, but the majority of the time, he would just speak to me and walk. And every question I had about the church and Islam and why the church and why not this, and he would just answer it. And two things that happened, I was talking to him, and he asked me a question. He says, Aaron, he says, I'm going to tell you something that happened at the age of 14 years old in your life. And I looked at him.
How did he know?
That's what I'm saying. He did not know because we didn't meet until several weeks later. And so he said, the Lord showed me something that happened in your life. There's going to be another validation as that the Lord knows you personally. And he told me a secret that no one knew. I didn't share it with my mother. I didn't share it with no one. And I just looked at him and my mouth opened up. And then I knew then that this God is God. This is the God of the Bible, that he really knew all things about me. Yeah.
And what did this lead you to do?
Then we were around the basketball game, and he was sitting beside me, and we were watching the guys play, and I was trying to get next. And he actually started to ask me to explain the basketball game, and I thought, all black men know the basketball. He did not, seriously. See how prejudiced I was even thinking. And he said, no. So I explained to him about two guards and a forward and a center. And you know his response to me he said, that's just the way angels and demons do in the realm of the spirit. And I looked at him and just, of course, I don't know what he's saying. But after that, about 5 minutes later, he asked me that I wanted to see Jesus as Lord and Savior. And I just looked at him and said, I think I do. And I received Jesus as Lord and Savior on a bench watching a basketball game.
Did you instantly have a love for the white man when that happened?
It erased this prejudice, this anger, this hatred that was there. It was as if the encounter with the Lord changes your whole heart perspective. So it just...
Did you love the white man when that happened?
As in love, when you say love it changed from a hatred at least to a consideration on maybe I've had a perspective or looked out a grid that was incorrect.
Yeah, but that's fine. That's much better than where you were.
That's right.
But what caused you to honestly say you love the white man as much as the black man?
Okay, this is what
Can you
happened.
say that?
I can say that. Oh,
You can.
absolutely. I can say that. And I think one experience changed that. I was doing my first sermonette about 6 months after this encounter with the Lord, and it was out of Luke 4. And I had wanted a watch, a certain kind of watch. And of course, I didn't have the money. I come from out of where my mother was the only parent in the house. And so I had prayed to the Lord in secret that I wanted a watch. Well, prior to me giving my sermonette, Sid, who comes up in this little circle? It's like in a community center, I'm giving my trial sermon. Bishop Hoskins stopped and said, before you speak, son, we have a present for you for your birthday. So a couple of people got up and said some good things, and I just smiled. And then this one white guy, his name was Michael, he got up. And he walked up to me and handed me this box, or was reaching a box out toward me. And I had so much dislike for white people that I couldn't reach out and take the box right away. And so I was waiting and I was looking, and then he started telling me, he says, you know, I was praying and I felt like the Lord told me to get you a watch. And time, that God is the God of time, and that God is have a Kairos time. And that was my time then to become free from something that had me bound, and that he could speak to a white man or speak to a black man, and that he had our desires, he could answer our prayers, and he could use whomsoever he will. So my encounter with the supernatural came on like fast forward, coming right into the kingdom.
Now, Aaron, you and I, this is the first time we've ever even met face to face.
That's true.
We talked on the telephone.
Yeah.
Honestly, can you say I'm white?
Yes.
You're black.
Yeah.
Can you really say you love me? Not cosmetic junk,
I know what you
not
mean,
that.
yeah.
There's too much cosmetic junk
that's
going
absolutely,
on.
that's true.
Can you really say you love me?
Absolutely. One, because of the changing of the heart when you have an encounter with the Lord. But two, it's amazing how in our ministry right now, the majority of the people that are with us are all white, 80 to 85%.
So some would call you an Uncle Tom.
If they had that grid, that mentality, would call me an Uncle Tom, yes.
Now, you didn't relate when you were told about angels and demons the first time. Have you seen an angel?
Absolutely.
Tell me one experience.
Okay. Matter of fact, the last recent time I had an encounter with the Lord was my wife and I were sitting around watching a video called Angels about the baseball game. And it was about the little kid that got on the bed and prayed about, oh, I wish you would send some help. He prayed to God and asked God to send to help his baseball team because they was at the bottom of the pennant and he wanted them to get to the top. And his father just said the only way that he would come back to help if the baseball team went from the bottom to the top. So out of a childlike prayer, this child is on the bed, he prays, God, I sure wish you could do something for the angels. Well, when you know it, that God hears even those whispers, and he sent some angels. Well, after video was over it, I went into my office in the house. We have an office part, and I just thought, I was sitting there and I was moving papers, and I said this in childlike faith. I said, Lord, it's time for you to send some angels to help us in Orlando. Just childlike. That's all it was. It was in a very conversational way to the Lord. And that night I went to bed, was in the bedroom with my wife, felt the prodding to go get up. I got up, I went back into the office where I have a couch. I went in the couch, I went and fell asleep, and all of a sudden I heard this noise in the room. And I thought, why is Angela in this room? She knows not to come during my quiet time.
It's your wife.
This is my wife, Angela, yeah. And all of a sudden I opened my eyes, and there on the chair, in the chair is an angel. And I looked. This is what I said, you've come.
What does angel look like?
This angel, he had of course, it was not a very strong glow, as if it was the glow that we say all angels have to come with this blinding light. That is not true. As you study scripture, sometimes it can come as a visitation as a human being. But it was this clear, whiteness around him, and it had this stare that had like a river of God just flowing out of his presence. Such a peaceful presence of the angel of the Lord.
Now, God sent this angel to you because you asked, but does this angel say anything to you, or?
No, he did not. He just stared, and then I went back to sleep in the presentation.
Did you have a good sleep?
I had a very good
I'm
sleep,
sure.
yes. I get up, I go back into the bedroom. I don't say anything to my wife because she's asleep. She gets up an hour later, she uses the restroom, and then she walks in the room, she says, Aaron, I says, yeah, because you know how wives like to talk. And then I'm thinking, oh, this is another conversation she wants to have 3 o'clock in the morning. She says, did an angel visit you? And this wakes me up. Whoa, how did you know? She said, I heard him leave. I heard the door shut. And this is our kitchen door. She said, I heard the door close, and I thought, who would be here 3 o'clock in the morning talking to Aaron? And she said, when she said that, then she got the witness in her spirit. The Lord said, that was the angel that came and visited your husband. So it confirmed my visitation, and also she didn't see it, but the Lord spoke to her or had a witness that an angel had came and visited her husband.
Aaron, there's a big problem in the